With Waldorf-Inspired Learning, and I see there are a few of us here, so what I would love to hear from you, to refresh my screen, is if you can see me and hear me, because that's important. So if you can see me and hear me, please type yes, you can. Why is it doing that? Into the chat box. I just refreshed my screen, so hopefully it's going to come up properly. So if you can see me and hear me, please just say hello in the chat and we will get started. Hi, Ashley. So nice to see you. That's great. All right. I have two screens going here. It's a little complicated reading the chat, but hopefully it won't be too distracting. Okay. So we're going to get ready and get started in just a minute. Give people a couple minutes to join in. As you join, you could just say hi in the chat box. So great. Hi, Caroline and Julie and Apple. Thank you so much for being here today. It's September 1st, so happy September, everybody. Here in Northeastern Ohio, the weather, the season is definitely changing. We have cooler temperatures and the sun is going down earlier. I even made my first apple crisp last night with apples from our tree. So definitely fall is coming here. And I know a lot of people are in different places with their planning and their school year. But I think what we're going to talk about today is going to help everybody, no matter where you are with your planning. So welcome, and I'm just going to go ahead and make this official. So it's 4 o'clock. So welcome to At Home with Waldorf. This is a free monthly webinar that I do. I host here at Waldorf-Inspired Learning. My name is Jean Miller, and I'm the founder of Waldorf-Inspired Learning, a site that I started to help and support Waldorf homeschooling mamas just like you, to weave the arts into the lessons and into life, really, in a way that's both doable and sustainable. I think sometimes this method, the Waldorf method, can seem really complicated. And what I'm hoping to give you today is a nice framework for keeping it simple and keeping it going, which I think is not always easy to do. But yeah, great. So welcome to all of you who are here. We're gonna dive into this September topic. Those of you who've not ever been here before, I go into one topic in depth each time I do one of these webinars. And in fact, I haven't done one since June. I kind of took the summer off. It's really great to be back here. I missed connecting with all of you in this way. It's a really fun thing for me to do. And we had a really busy summer, super fun. I took 2 teenage girls to New York City for the first time. That was really neat. And then I hosted the Taproot Teacher Training, which is a wonderful small gathering of Waldorf homeschoolers live in person here in Northeastern Ohio. We host it every summer, a long weekend of really diving into all of these arts and the Waldorf methods. So maybe that's something you can come to in the future. We would love to have you. And then I just got back from a trip to Northern Michigan visiting my dad, which is always fun. So I hope all of you had a really nice summer, and it's nice to be back. And here we are, September, the start for many of us. I know not for everybody, but for many of us, it's the start of a new homeschool year. So like I said, please say hi in the chat box. I'll be checking that. I have a separate screen over here that I'll be looking at. to check the chat, and we will have there is a giveaway at the end of the webinar, and I choose from among the people who list their name and where you're from in the chat box. So if you could do that, that would be great. The chat box is below the video if you haven't seen it yet. It's from Chatwing, and you can either comment as a guest, or you can log in via Chatwing or through Facebook or Twitter. So you'll find that below the video if you're watching on my website. So please do say hello and give us your name. Hi, Carly and Gayatharan. Hello, hello. And Susan, oh, so nice to see you from Colorado. That's great, everybody. And in just a couple minutes, we'll get to the main topic. I do have some slides to share with you today, and I just want to give you a couple of other tech tips. One is that if things go blurry or freeze up or any of that kind of thing, really the best thing to do is refresh your screen, and then that usually corrects it. There will be a replay though, so if you're having trouble or get interrupted or just want to watch again, there will be a replay. It shows up on this exact same page, and I'll send you a link later this evening too. So the giveaway today, which I said will come up a little bit later in the webinar, the giveaway is one of my planning guides. One of you is going to win my planning guide. If you already have it, and I know that there are some people here who do, then we will, I'll do a one-on-one 30-minute mentor session with you to help you out with wherever you are. Because wherever you are is where you're meant to be. That's one of the messages of today. So now we're going to move on to the topic for this month. And I really want to help you see the whole picture of the planning process to give you a real foundation or a framework for planning your whole year, or having, really what I should say is having an image of what your whole year looks like, but not doing the detailed planning of your whole year. It's a big difference, but having a solid framework as your foundation for the year is really great to help you get back on track if you get off track, and also just keep you going through the year. So that's the goal for today. And as I am bringing up the slides, Kara Carden, it's so great to see you. Oh my gosh, Kara came to Taproot, but it was a number of years ago. And Julie and Caroline. This is really nice. So welcome everybody. If you haven't heard, the way to enter the giveaway is by typing your name and where you're from in the chat. So I'd love to hear from people. If you want to type into the chat box as I'm bringing up the slides, just where you are in your homeschool year. Like, have you started? Are you in the middle of the year? I know not everybody here is from the United States. So let me know in the chat where you are with your homeschooling. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. And we'll get started. Sorry, it's not at the beginning though. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to wait a minute because there is a little bit of a delay. I want to just make sure that everybody can see the slides. So when you can see the slides, give me a thumbs up. Oh, good. It's looking like it did. It did load properly. That doesn't always happen. This is often the moment when there can be a big glitch. All right, so we have people from all over the place, including Turkey and Switzerland and the United States, and people are just getting started. So getting ready to begin started 2 weeks ago, starting next week. That's really sort of the overview of everything here in Ohio as well. So welcome again to At Home with Waldorf. This is the September episode, and we're going to be talking about what are the steps to planning for Waldorf homeschooling. So I'm looking forward to diving into this. I love questions, so feel free to interact through the chat or bring things up as we're going along, or save them for there will be a time for Q&A toward the end. So let me go ahead and just give you an idea. A number of you have been here before, but if you haven't, here's kind of the rhythm of this webinar. We have this meet and greet at the beginning, and then we dive into one piece of Waldorf wisdom, as I said. After we do that, I will share a couple of songs and verses. There'll be a Q&A time, and then I do the giveaway. And after the giveaway, I do have a special offer for all of you. So don't worry, if you aren't the winner today, you will be getting a special offer. And I like to end with a quote from Rudolf Steiner. So this webinar is really intended for you, whether you have children in any grade. So if you have children in any of the grades or even kindergarten and are curious about how to make your plan your own and keep it going, then this webinar is for you. Or perhaps you've done your summer planning, but you still feel a bit unsure about how to carry it out. Or you want some ideas on how to make time for your planning once your homeschool year has begun. That is an issue for so many homeschoolers. And finally, if you've purchased a curriculum, but you still realize that you still need to make it your own and personalize it, then you're also in the right place. We're going to cover that whole range and any other questions that you might have. So let us begin. This is the structure that I'm going to use today. I came up with these 6 steps to planning an awesome Waldorf homeschooling year last summer, and I'm really excited to share the steps with you. And as we go through the steps, I will be giving you some examples of how you can create a really strong foundation with each of these steps, and then also how they're going to help you stay the course through the year. All right. So just one real quick tip, as I said at the beginning, refresh your screen if you end up having any trouble. And because that's often a quick fix to any issues that you might be having. It's not a perfect. It is amazing that we can connect this way all over the globe, and there are glitches sometimes. So, and please participate in the chat box, as I have said. I just love getting questions. All right, so I'm going to start with a short introduction of myself, and I know that a lot of you already know me, but I always try to add a few stories each time. So this is actually my extended family here in this picture, and I'm in the middle there, the shortest one. And my family is also in the center. So my husband is behind me, and then I have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, Isaac, Ben, and Lila. And in this picture, my dad and his wife are on one side, and my sister is on the other. And this is in one of our trips to Northern Michigan, which is an annual family trip. Super, super fun for all of us. My older 2 boys are they're in their 20s. They've graduated. They're grown and gone. And they live in California and Colorado at the moment, neither permanently. I'm hoping they make their way back closer to home eventually. Of course, we all wish that, right? And just a brief bit about my story. This is my 28, well, okay, let me reframe that. I have been teaching for 28 years. And this is the first time in those 28 years that I am not going to be teaching young people. don't have to have a lesson plan prepared for the first time in 28 years. I'm taking a sabbatical from teaching young people. My daughter, the youngest, is a senior in high school this year, and she's taking her classes at the local community college. So I'm taking a sabbatical from teaching young people and choosing to focus on working with moms, just like you. So I'm really excited about that because however we can focus, I get to narrow my focus. It's really a helpful thing. I've taught small groups and my own kids from the beginning. So that's almost 20 years of that. Prior to that, I was a classroom teacher. So I was a high school English teacher before I had children. And so my relationship to planning has really been different every single year. And I just want to give a little bit of encouragement here to say, no matter where you are in the process, it's going to be okay. You're in the right spot. I'll just share a couple of little snippets from my life. I was thinking about, how every year is really different in terms of planning and how prepared I am at this stage. So we have generally started our homeschooling the day after Labor Day. So that would be next week. One year I was pregnant and on bed rest, and it was, of course, the year that the entire world, aside from our family, believed that my boys should start reading because they hadn't yet. They were behind. And so, of course, everybody thought we would be putting them in school, which we did not, and it all worked out fine. Another year, my mother-in-law had passed away in June, and then I got really, really ill. Nobody knew what it was. Finally, I was diagnosed with a very unusual autoimmune disease. And so that year, I had done no planning. And I was actually sick until Thanksgiving. So, every year can be really, really different. Another year I had a miscarriage right this very week, and that threw things into, once again, a crazy chaos. So just know that, some years you're going to be really well planned, and other years it's going to be a bit more challenging. So enough about me. Here are the steps to planning that I want to suggest to you and share with you about today. Go through each of these steps, as I said, and I'm going to give you some examples. But here they are, all 6 steps to planning an awesome year. So before we actually dive into step 1, which is all about blocks, main lesson blocks, I would like to just remind us all that the end goal is weaving in the lively arts, right? So all of these steps are created so that we can come up with as I've called it, a framework or a foundation for weaving in all of these different arts. Those of you who know me know that I'm really big on the lively arts. I have a very extensive article on my website. If you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend you read it. And it gives examples of and ideas of each of these areas, ways that you can incorporate the arts into your homeschool. So it starts at the top with the literary arts, which is storytelling, or the stories that we choose and that become really the vehicle for the new learning that we're sharing with our children. And then we want to weave in movement and speech and drama, music, which includes singing and perhaps recorder or an instrument, and then painting, drawing, and modeling. So that's the big picture of the lively arts that we want to have in the back of our minds as we're doing our planning and our homeschooling. All right, so step one is blocks. So I came up with this framework. I just want to tell you a little bit about this. I created the acronym BRIDLE. Let me just go back to this slide. So here are the 6 steps to planning that we'll be talking about. And the acronym BRIDLE, B-R-I-D-L-E, to me really represents the idea of reining in our wild imaginations. So every Waldorf homeschooling mom I know has lots of ideas. And if you've been at this for any length of time, you probably have piles of ideas. You have books, you have curriculum, you have notes, you have verses and songs and things saved on your computer and pieces of paper sitting around, or however it is that you choose to do it. And, you know, like I said, my relationship to planning has changed from year to year, as will yours. But I know that what really counts in the end is the doing, right? So what we do with our children is what they contributes to their learning, not what we think about. So we want to be sure that we don't get lost in all of those ideas. So that's how I came up with this acronym BRIDLE. And I like to think of it, like I said, as kind of reining in our creativity as planners. So now, just the reminder about the lively arts. And here we are at step 1. So this is a really helpful way to begin to focus and create this foundation that we want. And I often recommend, so by the time we get to the end of these 6 steps, you may begin to have a picture of what the whole of your year can look like. The actual details of the lesson planning come in the 5th step, and I have never planned out the details of the lessons for every single block at the beginning of the year. I don't know anyone, in fact, who does. So if you're one of those people who has, put it in the chat box, because you would be quite an unusual person. But I think that most of us plan for the details, the fine details of each block. For instance, what story we're going to tell, what verses we're going to recite, etc., etc. I think most of us plan that. Maybe we have 1 or 2 blocks for the fall planned at this point, and then we're planning as we go through the year, which of course is a challenge, because once lessons get going, I know we often can feel like we don't have time for planning. So I also have some ideas to share with you about that. But the very first step is to plan your main lesson blocks. And you may have heard of this one. It's called the Big Paper Plan. And here is an image of 1 year of mine. This is a very large piece of paper. So this is only represents about half of it. And what it shows is what I find the easiest thing to do is to hang one particular block on each month. If you have more than 1 children, then you might be doing 2 blocks at a time. I think it's hard to do more than 2 blocks, 2 different blocks. So I highly recommend you finding overlaps, or doing your children of similar ages together in the same block. And there's a lot more, particularly in grades, once you get from grade maybe 4 or 5 and up through 8, there's a lot more leeway in terms of the blocks that are done in particular grades. So that's something to think about when you're making your plan. I like to actually plan, and I've shared this before, I think in the homeschooling with multiple ages, but I like to take Post-it notes and have a different color for different kids and put what the standard blocks might be for each of their grades, and then look and see where there overlaps and where I can combine. So 2 really important tips that I want to give you in making your big picture plan. And the first is do you see the little numbers? So September says Greek mythology and history. And that little number 12 after that, if you can read it, that little number 12 indicates how many days during the month of September we would be doing lessons. So if you're doing using a 2-day rhythm, which is what I recommend, a 3-part lesson in a 2-day rhythm, meaning the first day you present the story and the second day you do some sort of recall and write up a summary. In using the 2-day rhythm, that means that if you have 12 days in the month of September for lessons, you only need 6 stories. And when I started doing this, it was a huge game changer for me, because what I realized was I was searching and searching and searching for stories. And if I only needed 6, I didn't need to go to the library or order online or have on hand 30 different resources for those stories. I only needed maybe 1 or 2. So that's an important tip, is to write the number of days that you'll be doing lessons during that month somewhere inside the little box there. And then my second tip, and this is one of the tips for keeping you going and on track, is to then hang this plan on your wall or on the inside of a cabinet or the inside of a door, like a closet door or something like that, so that you can look at it all year long. And if you get off track, and you probably will, we probably all get off track at some point, then you'll just be able to look at it and say, oh yeah, I planned this, and come back to it. You can do it in pencil. You can also do it with Post-it notes so that you can move them around, because things will change from September, from this point, September 1st, until May. I can almost guarantee you that you're not going to do your homeschool year exactly as you envision it right now. And that is okay. Even teachers in classrooms, that's true for everybody all over the world. That's how teaching is. And it's a good thing, because it means that we are then adapting to, adjusting according to the needs of the children before us, right? That's an important part of it. Okay, so that's step 1, blocks. And hi, Catherine. So nice to see you. All right. So that's step 1. So on to step 2, and this is really 2 parts, which is the resources and the rhythm. So in step 2, you choose your resources. Now, you might only be doing this for 1 or 2 blocks at a time, or you might be doing it for all of your main lesson blocks. It's totally up to you, and you'll find a rhythm that works for you. The second part of this is creating what I would call a weekly rhythm, and 2 helpful ways of doing this. So the first image that you see here is a weekly rhythm chart that I did when my kids were really small. And we were what it gives you is an idea of kind of one main activity each day of the week. And again, I recommend posting this, because children can begin to see, like this was, you can tell, is a time when I think my older boys were learning to read. So I had an image as well as the words, and they just knew this is what we did on each of these days. Now the activity cards actually have Velcro on the back, so I could move the plan around, and I had some additional ones aside from the ones that are up here. But this is a great, very simple starting point. So if your children are still young and aren't you aren't even doing it. This could be you're doing main lessons in the morning and this is in addition, or this could be when they're in kindergarten. And these are the activities so that they would come to know what to expect from your rhythm. It has two benefits. The children will know when you post it on the wall, and you will know. So I don't know if you've ever had the experience, but I have, of making a plan and then things happen and then you forget that you made the plan. And this will remind you. So the second picture here is a little hard to see, I realize, but there are all kinds of even coaches in all fields of life. So if you happen to be a project planner, or you happen to have some kind of business or whatever, lots of people will recommend that you create your ideal week. So this is an image of an ideal week, and you block off, another phrase that's often used with it is time blocking. So you block off times that are generally used for certain things. So like I said, it's a little bit hard to see, but you might be able to see where it says focused time in the mornings from 9:30 to 11. That was our main lesson time. In the afternoons, my kids had different classes, whatever year this was. We still had a quiet time right before dinner, etc. So this is a way, I've done these some years too where I've colored in those blocks, but this is a way, not that every single week is going to follow your ideal, but it's a way to keep you and everybody on track for what that rhythm of the week might be. So you started with your rhythm of the year, which is your big paper plan, and now you're beginning to choose resources for those different blocks you've chosen, different main lesson blocks, and you create a rhythm for your week. So we're going from, you'll see, from big to more precise as we go along. All right, so step 3 is inner work. So here's a question for you for the chat. I would love to hear from you. How many of you feel like you have a good handle on inner work? And let me just define that inner work can be creative work. Some people call it creative work. Some people call it spiritual work. But it's really our goal, I think, with inner work, and really as moms and dads, is that we want to be present. We want to be fully present with our children. I think this is harder and harder to do. You know, I have a huge age span with my kids, and when I started homeschooling 20 years ago, there weren't nearly as many distractions as there are now. I couldn't even do an internet search, you know, at that time, which is really hard to believe. I did not have a smartphone. There were just so many things were really different. And I think the distractions just continue to increase. And as a result, I think inner work becomes even more important for all of us. Inner work can take so many different forms. It's highly personal. But to me, Rudolf Steiner talked about the importance of prayer and meditation, those two things. And to me, it's a way of quieting the mind, whatever that might be. Prayer, meditation, walk. Yeah, so Carly's saying it's a challenge to keep consistent with it. I totally agree with that. And getting enough rest is it's so important, and it's so challenging. I know that the rest piece is really related to the planning piece, because so often if we're not well organized and don't have a good plan, solid plan, we stay up way too late, searching and kind of panicking and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, and sometimes I agree. Sometimes we are better at it than others. As Apple says, it's especially when there are a lot of distractions, yeah, and urgent things going on. And I completely agree. And it's ironic because those are really the times when we need it the most, but it's also the hardest to do. So when my 2 boys are 16 months apart and very boy energy physical, all of that. And the oldest would get up really early. He's a super, I don't know what you'd call him, type A, but he's full of ideas to this day at age 26. He gets paid to do it now. But he would get up really early. But my husband is self-employed, so we had this deal that he would try to be home as often as possible. And my inner work in those days was a walk by myself, which was the rarest thing to be able to do. You know, I was taking my kids, I was home, you know, homeschoolers were with our children all the time. We take them to the grocery store. We did, you know, we're with them practically 24/7. It feels like that. So to get just a little piece, a little tiny window of time, and I would go for a walk by myself around the block. I now still do that and have headphones in with a walking meditation on my phone that I listen to, and it's really helpful to me, especially when I can't quiet my mind without somebody else's help. And there can be times like that. Yeah, so miracle morning, that sounds interesting, Ashley. There are a lot of suggestions out there for starting your morning off well. What I find sometimes is that we keep adding to it. So the idea of getting up and meditating and exercising, read, journal, say affirmations, visualize a good day. I mean, those are all fabulous things. And Ashley, if you can get all that in, that is so wonderful. But what happens to me is that I keep adding things, and then pretty soon it falls apart because it's not doable anymore. And I have to keep it really, really simple. And even now, with my youngest in high school, she's a senior, I tend to, I can get in a walk and meditate in the morning, and that really helps me get going. And it varies from day to day. It depends on, you know, if something comes up, things do sometimes get in the way. But I do think carving out morning time, like first thing, is really, really great. For years, like I said, it was a walk, and then I would come home and I would say this inner quiet verse. If you haven't seen it, I have it posted somewhere, but I can put a link to it. But it's actually a Rudolf Steiner verse that he wrote, and it's about getting quiet. And to me, that's really what inner work is, right? So it's a beautiful verse. I had it memorized, and I would just sit and recite it. So let me give you another idea for inner work. Yeah, Ashley, it is a lot, but it's, if you have a system for it and you can get it all in a small chunk, it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I just want to warn everybody, or give you, those of you who are trying to create an inner work practice, don't have it have too many steps to start. Like, start with one thing. And get that going, and then maybe add something else to it. So here's another really simple way of doing inner work, which is to do a reading. And I often do this when I have time. In addition to my walk, my meditation will take this form, as opposed to listening to a meditation or doing it myself. So I pick one of these. I have some other books too that I often read from, but each of these books, The Calendar of the Soul is by Rudolf Steiner. This daily affirmation for parents is actually for anyone who is in a 12-step program that might want support parenting. So if you did not grow up in a household with healthy role models, that could be a good book for you. And then the third one is Meditations for Women Who Do Too Much, which has been something that I've experienced before. So Calendar of the Soul is weekly meditations. The other two books have daily entries. And here's just a little tip. This is one of my favorite practices, is to pick one of these books, open to today. This is first thing in the morning. Open to today, do the reading, and then close the book and compose. Sometimes I write it down, sometimes I just do it in my head. Compose a prayer from it that I then get quiet, sit quietly, close my eyes, and I repeat along with my breath this prayer almost as a mantra. And I just do that for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or, longer if you can, to quiet my mind and also give me a positive focus for the day. So that's just one way to incorporate both prayer and meditation into one practice, and a super simple thing to try if you're interested. So I just wanted to share that. I also have a recent blog post, how to create an inner work practice, which is actually a really different type of practice. The post is written by Sheila Petrocelli, my friend over at Sure as the World, and she actually came this year to Taproot to teach inner work, and that was a huge treat. So I'll, in the show notes, I'll put a link to so you can come back to this page and find the link to it if you're interested in that. She does some real creative, she recommends and does herself some real creative collaging for her inner work. All right, here we go. So we're on to step 4, and this step is really about daily rhythm and creating a daily rhythm. So we've gone to the yearly rhythm, that includes then breaks down into the monthly rhythm, right? Your main lesson blocks, and then creating a weekly rhythm for yourself by making a chart of your ideal week. And here we are at the daily rhythm. So these are your 4 kind of rhythms of the year. Oh yeah, Ashley, we did this wonderful mandala last year at Taproot. Yeah, those for inner work, that was that came out of, there's a woman named Heather Plett who has a website. I don't remember what her website is called at the moment, but it will come to me, and I'll post that too, because she has a whole program on mandala work. And Ashley, I had actually taken her mandala course, which then gave me the idea for that mandala we did. So I'll put that in the show notes as well. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, so here's a super simple, again, this is old, this goes back, you can tell, like 15 years. You probably now, of course, there's Pinterest, so you've seen all these gorgeous ones that people create on Pinterest. Don't feel like you have to create a gorgeous one. This took me 15 minutes, right? And it was, you could do each child individually if you're trying to help them learn to do their chores, which is what the intention was with this one. Or you can create a daily rhythm for the whole family where you have just a rhythm chart on the wall. And you've probably seen them on Pinterest. Some people watercolor paint them. I've seen people make them out of tree logs where they, have these beautiful discs that have the different activities for the day on them. This was just the morning routine, but you can also include your main lesson time and lunchtime. You can go through the whole day, the rhythm of the whole day with something like this. All right, so step 5 is the lessons. And this is where we get into the details, right? So my recommendation for the details is to just plan out your next block or your next 2 blocks at a time. Like I said, I don't recommend doing a whole detailed plan for the whole year at the beginning. And the main reason I don't recommend that is because, like I said, it's going to change. So here's just one way to create a framework. I've made my own planners using something like this, a grid like this for each day of the week. You can change, if you only homeschool 3 days at home or 4 days at home, you can change that along down the left-hand side and across the top. Those can be any categories you want them to be. But this is a really simple one. So here's a way to begin your planning. And what I recommend to keep it going through the year is to create your own rhythm for planning. So maybe on Thursday evenings, you pick the stories, right? Or whichever, you pick the songs and the verses, whichever you want. And then on Friday night, you do the next one. And then on Saturday, you decide on the activities and check if you have all the supplies. And then on Sunday, you gather supplies and review your plan. And it can be as simple as that. You know, when you pick your artistic activity, you might want to decide which scene from the story you're going to paint or draw. That can really help. But this is a super simple framework for your planning. You can also do this on a calendar if you want. I've seen people just grab a calendar and that becomes their planner to do it. But that's one example. So the final step is to set up your environment. And my big tip here is I like to say to have a box of books for kids in the grades that are beyond maybe from 3rd grade up. They have their own box of books, and then you have a shared box of supplies. And they can then keep all their books in one place. This can hold main lesson books, as well as this was obviously for an older child, like maybe it's 7th grade or 7th grade, I think. But if you have a 4th grade child, they might just have a book in there that you're using for learning about and a couple of their main lesson books, and then maybe a book that they're working on reading independently. So that's one way, a tip for setting up your environment. All right, I have a couple of songs and verses that I want to share with you, and then we will get to Q&A, which is always a fun thing. So the first song we did at Taproot this year, and it's a really, really fun song. Actually, I think we did it last year too, Ashley and Catherine. So it goes like this. It's a Polish welcome song, and I will, on the show notes, I will send you, I'll include a link to, there's a YouTube video of this. There's actually a music professor, I'm guessing it's in either Kentucky or Tennessee, who taught that. I learned it from his YouTube video. He has a lot of them, and he works with elementary school teachers. So I'll give you a link. And here's how it goes. Welcome, welcome, everyone. We are glad that you are here. We will dance, we will sing. Welcome all into our ring. Welcome, welcome, everyone. We are glad that you are here. We will dance, we will sing. Welcome all into our ring. And that's a fun one to do as an opening if you want, and can bring everybody to circle time. All right, the next one is a verse. It's a poem. And just to remind you, or those who haven't been here before, I also include in the show notes a link to a document that has the lyrics and words to all of these different songs and verses, so that you'll have that. Okay, this poem is by Helen Hunt Jackson, and it's called September. The goldenrod is yellow, the corn is turning brown, the trees in apple orchards with fruit are bending down. The gentian's bluest fringes are curling in the sun. In dusty pods, the milkweed its hidden silk has spun. The sedges flaunt their harvest in every meadow nook, and asters by the brookside make asters in the brook. By all these lovely tokens, September days are here, with autumn's best of weather. Sorry, with summer's best of weather and autumn's best of cheer. All right, I have in the songs and verses, I have a poem called In Autumn, but I'm not going to do that right now so that we can keep moving here. But I do want to sing When I'm Grown Up for you so that you have it if you want to learn it. So here is how that goes. These last two are great for celebrating Michaelmas, if that's something that you do. It's commonly celebrated at the end of September. We often called it the Festival of Strength and Courage, because the reality is that it's getting darker and darker outside, and I think we all need some extra courage going into the winter. So here is a song, When I'm Grown Up, that you might want to learn with your children. When I'm grown up, as big as the world, I'll ride forth a hero with my banner unfurled. When I'm grown up, as strong as an oak, I'll tame the wild dragon in the woods with one stroke. And the earth then, and the moon then, and the stars will be mine, and even the sun for the hero will shine. All right. So enjoy those. I hope a couple of those are new for you and that you can learn those for your lessons. All right, it's time for Q&A. So I would love to hear if any of you have questions about any of the planning tips that I've given, or anything about planning in general. How's it going for you? What's your biggest struggle? Thank you, Catherine. Oh, it's so funny. Catherine, I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but when I was in 4th grade, I was told I should learn to play the violin instead of singing in the choir. But I have really developed my voice as a Waldorf homeschooler, so I like sharing that so that others can have the confidence to be able to do that too. So thanks for saying that. If there are any questions, be sure to pop them in the chat, and I'm going to get us ready for the giveaway here. And I'm just going to wait a minute to see if there are any questions, because there's a little bit, like I said, there's a little delay. And if you don't have any questions, that's cool too. If you think of them after today, you can always email me at some later point when it comes up. If you have not yet put your name and where you're from into the chat box, now would be the time to do that, because we're getting ready for the giveaway. So if you've already done it, you don't need to do it again. But if you haven't already done it, this would be the time to do it. All right. So this was helpful for beginners. Thank you, Caroline. I'm so glad. Thanks for joining us. And Carly, yeah, the Festival of Strength and Courage. I think that's so great too. It's really, you know, I've always done festivals with a group of families who are from different religious backgrounds. And I think it really helps to find ways that we can celebrate together. All right, so Catherine says she has so many great stories for, one of my challenges is that I find so many great stories, right, and have so many ideas and want it all. Absolutely. So I have this mantra, Catherine, think in threes, pick one. And I think it really helps to find 3 stories or ideas that you love, and then just pick one. Because we have to narrow it down. Really, that's the idea of putting those numbers on the big paper plan, is that we have to start imposing limits on ourselves. We just have to. Otherwise, it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing, and then we hit overwhelm and we don't do anything. So that's not good. Yeah, so we want to find a way to limit, to really bring that big energy in. All right, so Keelan, nice to see you. Oh, good, from Everlasting School. Wow, so nice to see you, Keelan, and please say hi to Amy. All right. Thank you, Carly and Minga Mama. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the giveaway. And Jackie, I got, and let you know who is the winner of that. And I think I have everybody now on here. And here we go. If you still have any questions, please just let me know. All right, so here I'm going to do this drawing. I have everybody's names. So the winner, sorry, the winner of the giveaway for today. Oh, we have 2 Carlys. Okay, that's good to clarify. Hang on, let me add that. Oh, good. Thanks, Catherine. That's great. All right, we have 2 Carlys. And I'm making little slips of paper. My daughter usually helps me with this part, but she is not available today. So I can't put it into, yeah, 2 Carlys. I usually do this. I put it into random.org. It's very official. But today I just have little slips of paper and I'm choosing one because I can't, I already have 2 screens going. All right. The winner today of the planning guide, Planning for Waldorf Homeschooling, is Jackie. So Jackie from Houston, Texas. That's great. All right. Thank you. I'm so glad the webinar has been helpful for all of you. So Jackie, you can email me, Jean@WaldorfInspiredLearning.com, and I will send you the planning guide. So that's exciting. And for the rest of you, I have 20% off the planning guide if you don't own it already. And the coupon code to use is 6-step planning, and all one word, no spaces. And here's a link. And I will put the link again in the show notes. Okay, so the coupon is good through Sunday. Actually, I extended it through Monday because here in the US, Monday is a holiday. So the planning guide's normally $27, and with 20% off, it's $21. So you can use that coupon code 6-step planning through Monday. So if you don't have the guide, I highly recommend it. And here is the quote of the month that I want to leave you with. Steiner had talked a lot to the very first Waldorf teachers when he was training them. He talked about this concept of that teaching is communication from soul to soul. And I just love that image. I think as parents, we're connected. Our soul is connected to our children's souls. And so it's a really fun image for me. And here is a little more about that. So Rudolf Steiner said, "The totality of truth is present in every soul as a seed and can be brought to blossom if the soul devotes itself to the development of that seed." Now, I think as parents, it's our job to do the developing early on, but remember that the end goal is that our children become self-learners, become self-educated people, and take that on themselves. All right. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Here's some ways to contact me. I'm so glad. Very inspiring. And it's such a sweet group of like-minded people. So thank you, thank you. I'm on Pinterest at Waldorf Inspired. You can find me on Facebook. If you haven't liked my page, that would be great. I do post various quotes and things there, and updates. I'm also on YouTube. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can email me, as I said, at Jean@Waldorf-Inspired Learning. So thank you so much for joining me. I have one last question for you because I'm really curious, those who are still here. Our next webinar, I had been doing these the first Tuesday of the month, but now we have some Jewish holidays coming up. Our family's Jewish in the beginning of October, so I'm going to do it on a Thursday again, October 6th. But I do not have a topic yet. So I would love to hear from you what you are most struggling with or what you might want to suggest as a topic for October. October and November. I know what I'll do in December. So if you have a suggestion for that, please pop it into the chat. That would be great. And I think this is the first time I have finished right on time. So I want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you so much to all of you who've been here live for watching. And all of you who watched the replay, thanks for being here at Home with Waldorf, my free monthly webinar. And as I said, we'll gather again on October 6th. If you have any ideas for a topic that you want to request, send them in. And thanks so much again for joining me, all of you, and best of luck. I hold all of you in my hearts as you begin your lessons or continue with your lessons. And I really think that having a big picture of your whole year is going to help you create that foundation you need to keep going. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right. Bye. Oh, good. You follow me on Pinterest. That's great. So cool. Yeah. Big hugs to all of you. Thanks for being here. Bye. You're going to see me. See you next time.